Hello everyone! My name's Lauren and I'm an actor with the Octagon Theatre. The Octagon StoryMaker sessions are great opportunities for children and the grown-ups who look after them to enjoy original stories told by an actor with musical moments to help bring the stories to life. At the moment, you can't come to the Octagon to enjoy StoryMakers, so StoryMakers is going to come to you. We've adapted some of our StoryMaker sessions so that you guys can enjoy them from the safety of your own home. I'm going to be here telling the stories from the safety of my home, and afterwards you guys can follow the link to take part in a fabulous craft activity once you've listened. So stay safe everybody, and we can't wait to see you at the Octagon soon. There once was a nest, and inside the nest were 6 eggs ready to hatch. Mummy Duck watched as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 eggs hatched one by one into fluffy yellow ducklings. Soon there was just 1 egg left. Mummy Duck and her ducklings crowded around the egg until suddenly they heard a crack and they saw the top of the last egg ping off. They crowded around the egg but couldn't believe what they were seeing. 2 big feet, 1 sharp beak, and lots of grey fluff. Well, this duckling didn't look like the others, or any duckling that Mummy Duck had ever seen. One day, Mummy Duck let her children out to play. "Remember," she said, "don't run off, stay safe and be kind to one another." "Yes, Mum," said the ducklings as they pitter-pattered outside to some puddles. One by one they jumped in the puddles and played around in the mud. But the last to jump was the youngest duckling. So he ran, he threw himself in the air and splat! He covered his brothers and sisters with mud. "Oh, look what you've done!" cried his brother. "Oh, you've made such a mess," said his sister. "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to. It's just that, well, my feet are bigger than yours, so they make a bigger mess. Here, let me help you." And the youngest duckling went to clean away the mud with his beak. "Ow!" said his brother. "That hurt." "Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to hurt you. It's just that my beak is sharper than yours." "You are so embarrassing," said the oldest duckling. "My friends say how silly you are. They talk about you all the time on Twitter." "I tell my friends there's nothing we can do about you. No quack chat filter will save that duck face," his sister said. "You," said the ducklings all together, "are one very ugly duckling." The ugly duckling ran away as fast as his feet could carry him, and he kept on running until he found a mound of grass to sit on. He cried so much that he thought he'd never stop. And just like he did whenever he was sad, he started to sing to himself. "They all tell me my feet are too big. They all laugh when I trip on a twig. They say I'm ugly, no, look at you. They all say it, so it must be true." Just as the ugly duckling finished his song, he heard a noise coming from somewhere. He listened again to find out where it was coming from. "Help!" came the voice. "Help! Who are you?" said the duckling. And where are you?" "I'm a mole and I'm stuck in a hole," cried the voice. And the ugly duckling looked down and realised that he was sitting on a molehill. "All of this rain has made a load of mud and I'm stuck. I can't get out," cried the mole. "Oh, sorry," said the duckling, "but I don't think I'll be able to help you. I'll just make more of a mess." "Look, all I need is some of this mud moving," said the mole. And just like that, the ugly duckling looked down at his feet and he had an idea. He jumped high in the air and landed with a splat. "Oh, that's it," cried the mole. "That worked! Oh, please keep on going!" The ugly duckling jumped and jumped and jumped until soon he started to see the tip of the mole's nose. "Hooray! Oh, finally, I can move," said the mole. "Oh, thank you so much. To who do I owe this pleasure?" "Oh, people call me the ugly duckling." "The ugly duckling? That's your name?" said the mole. "Well, may I suggest we make a new one? Not to make a mountain of a molehill or anything, but if you hadn't come and saved me, I'd have been stuck. So thank you, the very helpful duckling." "You're welcome," said the duckling, and he carried on walking. It was many months later, when the ugly duckling was leaning against a tree, that he started to think about the mole's words. "You are a very helpful duckling." It was a very kind thing for him to say, but it didn't make the duckling feel much better. He then started to wonder why he remembered all the bad things that people said about him rather than all the good things. And another song popped into his head. "They all tease me, your beak's too long. It's strange and pointy, it just looks wrong. They say I'm ugly, but look at you. They all say it, so it must be true." "Excuse me," said a voice from up above, "but would you mind not making so much noise? Some of us are trying to concentrate." "Oh, sorry," said the ugly duckling. "I'll try to be quiet." And he looked up and saw a squirrel in the branches. "Oh, I'm sorry," said the squirrel. "I didn't mean to take it out on you. It's just, well, I'm hungry and that makes me angry, so I guess you could say I'm hangry." "Oh, why are you hungry? Haven't you got any food?" said the duckling. "Oh, I've got food," said the squirrel. "I just can't eat it. Have a look at this." The squirrel then threw down an acorn that was still covered in its shell. "I have been trying to break into that for 10 minutes. I've tried everything. I've tried chewing it, throwing it against a tree, jumping on it, but nothing works. All of this packaging that they put on food nowadays, it's ridiculous." And whilst the squirrel was speaking, the ugly duckling started to peck away at the shell with his beak. And by the time she'd finished, he threw the acorn back up to her. "Wow," she said. "How did you do that so fast? That's nuts." "Oh, I've just got a very sharp beak. It's a bit like a woodpecker," said the ugly duckling. "All my brothers and sisters make fun of me because of it." "Well, they shouldn't have," said the squirrel. "I'm Caddle Squirrel, and I'm from the Whittle. And you are—" "The ugly duckling." "The ugly duckling? What type of a name is that?" "It's the name other people call me." "Oh, well, that's not very nice of them, is it? They don't like me because I've got big feet, a long beak, and because I'm grey." "Ha! Well, join the club," said Carol. "Well, I'm going to give you a new name. You, my friend, are the very kind duckling." The ugly duckling smiled, and Carol smiled back. "Oh, one last thing," said the squirrel. "Before you go, could you open a few more acorns for me?" The ugly duckling helped Carol the squirrel for all of that autumn, helping her to break into nuts and to crush berries, ready for when she hibernated that winter. And when Carol climbed into her nest for a long sleep, the ugly duckling said goodbye and carried on with his journey. "Good luck, kind duckling," said the squirrel. Winter became spring, and spring became summer. The ugly duckling felt a bit better, but he was always lonely. One afternoon, he felt so lonely that he started to cry, even though he tried his hardest not to. He remembered what his brothers and sisters said that one day, and whenever else he cried. "They all laugh whilst I'm starting to cry, and they like to tell me why. Because you're a baby who's always scared, you never Duckling found himself by the edge of a large pond. He sat by the water's edge and thought about whether to go swimming or not. He decided that he wasn't brave enough today, that the water was either too cold or too deep for him. But suddenly he heard a noise coming from the middle of the pond. He looked up and saw something splashing about. "Help!" cried the voice. "Help!" Without stopping to think about it, the ugly duckling dived straight into the water and swam out to the animal in distress. When the ugly duckling reached the animal, he saw that it was a duck. "Me foot's caught!" cried the duck. "I can't untangle it." "Don't worry," said the ugly duckling. "We'll sort it." The ugly duckling plunged into the pond and saw an old fishing line which was caught around the duck's foot. He pulled at the line with his beak until it slid off. When the ugly duckling came back up, he carried the duck on his back and pulled him onto the grass. The duck was still very scared, but he managed to get a few words out. "You've saved my life," he said. And when the ugly duckling looked at the duck he'd just rescued, he couldn't believe his eyes. "My brother," said the ugly duckling. "You're my brother." "What?" said the duck. "No, you can't be. My brothers and sisters all look like me. Well, apart from..." "Hang on. No, you can't be. I don't believe it." "What do you mean?" said the ugly duckling. "Don't you remember me?" "Of course I remember you," said the duck. "It's just, well, you look very different." The duck led the ugly duckling back to the pond and told him to look down into the water. And when the ugly duckling did so, he saw a reflection. But it wasn't the reflection of a bundle of grey fluff with big feet and a long beak. Instead, the reflection was of white feathers, a long, graceful neck, and bright, beautiful eyes. The ugly duckling wasn't an ugly duckling at all anymore. In fact, he was a bright and beautiful swan. The duck waddled off quickly to fetch the rest of the family. The swan looked up and saw a line of 6 ducklings, his 5 brothers and sisters, as well as Mummy Duck. "My son is a swan," said Mummy Duck. "Oh, I'm so proud. I have missed you so much. I always knew you'd come back." And then she gave him a great big hug and held him between her wings. The duck told them all about how the swan had rescued him from the pond, and the swan told them all about the mole and the squirrel he'd helped along the way. He thought they would all love to hear these stories, but his brothers and sisters looked really sad. "What's the matter?" said the swan. "We were so mean to you," said the eldest duckling, "and it was us who made you run away, and all because you were a bit different to us," said the ducks. The swan looked at them all, and he tried to think of what he could say to them, but in the end he decided that a song would be best. It was another that he'd come up with himself. "I am not ugly, in fact I'm a swan. I'm so smart now, my grayness has gone. So I have learned this, and this is true. What makes you stand out is what makes you you." When the swan finished singing, everybody clapped and cheered. All of the swan's brothers and sisters took it in turns to hug him. Mummy Duck looked at her children again and smiled. "Are we ready?" said the swan, and everybody nodded, and together they all flapped their wings and set off on a big adventure, each of them proud of one another and of themselves. And that, everybody, is the tale of the brave swan and his family. The end.